Yeah, welcome back to Live for Love TV. Today is the 22nd day of the 12th month of the 22nd year inside the 21st century. Hope everyone's doing well out there. Today, I think I'd have a little touch a little base again with you. My last one's about prostate, and I think today we'll talk a bit more about health and why it's important. And I'm one of these people that advocate for external health and internal health. What do I mean by internal health? Because everyone knows, I think everyone knows what external health is, running, jogging, walking, power walking, gym work, press up, sit up, the whole 9 yards externally. A lot of people go for that. But the internal work, I think, is probably even more important, but just as important. If you can, it's equally important, let's say. Yeah, some say it's even more important, but it's equally important to me. And what you really want to do internally is you want to improve yourself, improve your character, your emotions, your personality, your feelings towards fellow human beings. These things are just as important. Now, the reason why I bring that up is because I've been doing for the last 20, let's see, 20, no, the last 30 years. I started late. So the last 30 years, I've been in and out of gyms, and I've gone to gyms everywhere, all over the place, because I do like to do my gym work, especially early in the morning. And you do find a lot of people who go to the gym are just external workers on their health. They don't believe that there's an internal man or an internal woman that they need to have good characters. I find more often than not, this is a generalization, you find, when you see some sisters or women in the gym, they really look fit and healthy and they're looking after themselves and they're beautiful. But try and have a conversation with them and you'll realize that they really don't think about anybody but themselves. They really, yes, people say you got to look out for number one, but some of these people are like looking out for number one to the power of 10. And the internal character doesn't seem to be there. Now, I'm saying this is true from male or female perspective, that when you are probably really healthy looking, fit looking, good looking, you can attract a lot of people. You get women will attract a lot of men and men will attract a lot of women. But keeping people in your life is a whole different story. That needs to be done. The internal work needs to be done for that to happen. So a lot of these women, they attract a whole heap of men. Men are always after them, always, but they don't stay around. And the same is true for men who are probably attractive, six-pack abs, the full 9 yards, looking good and whatever. But women are not going to want to hang around them because they realize these men a lot of the time are very shallow, very self-centered. And the only way to offset this balance of looking good outside is to do the internal work. Now, the internal work, from my experience, I've found is a lot harder than the external work because you get quick feedback with external work. You can look in a mirror, within no time after you've done it that you this. But when the internal work, it could take quite a long time, 6 months, years before you recognize that, or anybody else recognize your character and that your personality is changed and it's sort of more enlightened. You're more lighter person to be around. That takes a lot longer to see from yourself and for people on the outside. So people don't really like to do this work. I've always talk about doing the external work without doing the internal work. A bit like a painter and decorator who, the old days, they used to use a lot of wallpaper on the walls, and it's like when you got all these cracks and all over the place and holes all over the place, but you just wallpaper over it. Yeah, and you wallpaper over the cracks. Now, I don't know how long it's going to take, but anybody knows sooner or later the cracks are going to show through the wallpaper. They won't show on the first day, they may not show in the first week or month or whatsoever, but eventually they will show. And they'll show more and deeper as time goes on. That's just the way cracks are. And I feel that's exactly the same as when you work on the external person without working on the internal person. People don't notice in the beginning. They meet you in a party, you're in a club, or they meet you somewhere online or whatever, and you look like a really lovely person. And as they get to know you, the cracks start to show. So I always advocate. That's why Live for Love TV is really about. I advocate the internal is very important as like the external. I don't underestimate the external, but the internal to me is equally important. Um, some people do that spiritual work and they believe that if they do enough internal work, the external work isn't important because they're good characters and they're going to go to the hereafter. And I can't argue about that. I can't say that's untrue. But the external work sometimes it's the first port of call for somebody to actually look at you from outside and let's say be attracted to you or find you not, find you pleasant. So I always say that it's good to, when you look at, like, say you go into a shop or anything, or you see something that you like, it's good when a thing has a good design or it looks nice, whether it's a book with a nice cover, a nice looking cover whatsoever. Yes, what's in the book is more important than what's on the outside of the book, but the first attraction sometimes is the wording, the thumbnail on a video, the design of a sneaker whatsoever. That attracts you. That's the first attraction you normally get when you walk into some place. So it's important. I'm not going to underestimate it. But if you put on a really good looking sneaker and yet within but let's say half an hour of wearing it, your feet are starting to hurt you, you've been sold a 6 for a 9, as they like to say. So internal health is important. Work on it as much as you work on external health. Don't be caught up in that trap of just trying to look good, trying to impress people, because all you're going to do is embarrass yourself down the line when you've had 500, 600 girlfriends and nobody wants to hang with you. Same for women, when you've had a bag of man, but yet nobody still wants to hang with you. That's because the internal work hasn't been done. It's the internal work that actually keeps the people around you. That's my understanding of life, and that's what I stick to it, and you can't tell me anything else. Anyway, take care. See you soon. Live for Love TV.
Beat